Hey guys, I'm Wolf. We're back at the GSL Super Tournament. We've got one more set of games left for you guys. It's going to be choyafOu versus oGsTOP. Should be an exciting series. One of the foreign fans here talked to me on the break, and he was like, well, what do you think about this game? How do you think it's going to go? And I told him that I think that Choya is most likely going to all-in because he does that a lot. And I feel like because he's the coach now, he doesn't have as much time to practice. And I myself, when I don't practice as much, my macro kind of slips a little bit, then I have a tendency to do all-ins because you can get wins that way, even if you haven't been practicing, if you remember how to all-in, which isn't that difficult. So I think we'll probably see some all-ins from him. Remember, he's the coach of oGsTOP. So, it's not necessarily going to be the case that he's going to do timing attacks or all-ins, but I think that's what we'll probably see from him. Top, as a player, his macro is incredible. He's got great mechanics. He practices with some of the best processes in the world as well, including MC. So I think he's probably the favorite here, but I thought that about Xenia versus Choya, and Choya took out Zenio to get here, which is no easy feat. And I remember that Zenio was also on the team OGS, so after that happened, I'm sure OGS took Choya a little bit more seriously, I think. And those were some close calls in those games, Choya versus Zenio. Choya just barely edging it out with some nice timing attacks. And, that's really what we see from Choya. Like Hong and Prime, they have a very similar style. They just like to do timing attacks. They can play a later game, but sometimes they just don't, especially Choya because he hasn't been practicing as much recently. He comes to all the events of all the oGsTOP players. He comes here, cheers them on. He's a great coach. He does a great job. And oGsTOP as a team is really supportive in general. But I think that Choya hasn't had as much time to practice. You can compare him to someone like The Wind, except that The Wind, even though he is a coach and still plays, he actually plays macro games still. But Choya is like the opposite of him in that regard. So, all right. We're going to take a look at oGsTOP now. His GSL ranking is 15th. He's pretty high up there. Now, he was the Code A champion for the first Code A season. He took out Beyond there, if I remember correctly. And ever since then, he's been in the Code S. Back in March, he actually almost fell down, but was able to stay up in his up and down matches. He made it all the way to the round of 8 last season, so that's pretty impressive. So he's been getting better and better, as you guys can see, like from Code A to round of 32 to round of 8 to S. Remember, he was in the open seasons as well, made it pretty far. I'm pretty sure you guys remember that one game where Top played. It was back in the time where Zerg players were thinking that TVZ was Imba, and there was this one game I remember Top masked Thors against Ultras, and then the Ultra splash damage unintended change. I don't know if any of you guys remember that from early after release, but the Ultraless splash damage just did ridiculous amounts of damage to Top, and even though he made only Thors versus Ultras, it was a really, really silly game. I think it was an open season 1. I'm sure some of you guys remember that. Maybe you can tweet me on Twitter about it. But yeah, I know what you're talking about, Wolf. Otherwise, I'll think that nobody knows what I'm talking about. My Twitter is epic, so Wolf. But our other player, our Protoss on the team oGsTOP. Get a shot of his CG here. There he is, Choya. I like his new haircut. Well, it's not that new anymore. He's got a serious face on. And I gotta say, Choya, he's recently been doing worse and worse, but a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that he's now basically head coach of oGsTOP. As you can see, he made it to the round of 8 in January in Code S, made it pretty far. Then in March, got knocked out in the round of 32, and then in Code A, he got knocked out immediately. So he's now a Code B player. So he's known for talking to himself. As you guys can see, he loves to talk to himself. And it's funny because he likes to calm himself down, and that must be a skill that he has and uses when he talks to his players. Because if you can calm your own nerves, then it makes it very easy if you can calm your opponent's nerves, or not your opponent's nerves. You don't want to calm your opponent's nerves. You want to calm your players' nerves that you're coaching. So I'm sure Choya, I haven't really talked to Choya all that much. I've talked to him a few times and very briefly, but I'm sure that his personality is a very caring and kind one, despite his, super scary all-ins and nice timing attacks and his awesome 4-gate that was developed back in the past. So, if you look at the win rate percentages here, Top's definitely got the clear advantage. He's got a 66.7% win rate versus Protoss in recent times at the GSL. Now, Choya versus Terran, his win rate significantly less impressive. 4 wins, or versus, I think I said that completely wrong, but 4 wins versus Terran recently, but 6 losses, so about 40%. And just in recent times, his overall wins and losses, he's not been doing very well. He's got 44% there. You can see there's a lot of L's there at the bottom of the screen. So, this is Choya's the coach. That's his role now. But this is one of his last chances here at the Super Tournament to prove himself, assuming that he's not going to try to requalify for Code A. He may try to requalify for Code A. We don't really know what his plans are, but he may not because he's the coach now. So This may be one of the last times you see Choya if he gets knocked out here, so if you're a Choya fan or a FOU fan, you should definitely be rooting him on. Maybe the last time we get to see Choya's beautiful face as he sings and talks to himself. Top looking much more calm. Now the first set is going to be on Metalopolis, set 2 will be on Crevasse, and set 3 will be on Xel'Naga Fortress. Top eliminated Belcher Beach, and Choya eliminated Crossfire SE. So I think it's a pretty smart choice to eliminate Crossfire. As I've said a few times in the past, I really think that I talk about every time I talk about Crossfire in this matchup. I think it's very difficult for Protosses. But the countdown has started. The first map, as I said, is Metalopolis. Will Top come out on top, or will Choya take him out in game 1? The coach of FOU challenging one of OGS's top players. Here we go. I'm in the game now. You guys will see in just a second here at the GSL.
oGsTOP versus choyafOu.
All right, up here at the top, our Terran player. He's a red Terran player on the team OGS. His name is correlated with his spawning position in this game. He is
oGsTOP.
At the bottom. Oh, get a shot of top here really quick. Aw, some more fans. Some hearts for top. Now here at the bottom we have a pros player, the coach of FOU. Has been in a bit of a slump after becoming the coach. Can he prove himself here today? He is.
choyafOu.
Now Choya sent out a pylon scout actually. See him there talking to himself a little bit there. But a little bit of a funky sign there for a second. There's that probe coming in here. Is able to scout because he did go for a pylon scout. On 4-player maps, it's pretty common to see that pylon scout. So he's going to want to check and see, have you taken gas? He doesn't see the gas now. Remember, this tournament is sponsored by LG 3D Cinema, Intel, and G-Skill. Give them your love. Show them that you care. Seriously, you know, a lot of the sponsors for the GSL have been extremely receptive. That's why you see them time and time again, and that's because of fans like you. So definitely gotta, you know, if you guys just watch the GSL and love it but never really give the attention the sponsors deserve, then, you know, it's not good for the growth of esports. And that goes for not just the GSL, but every tournament ever, because tournaments don't happen without sponsorships unless you've got a really rich company, you know, just pouring out money to try to get sponsorships in the future. There are a few organizations like that, but for the most part, tournaments are run by sponsors. Now, Top did make that that supply depot a little bit early, so he could block that probe, and that's why that probe didn't try to escape. Now, second gas going down here for Choya, skipping that first Zealot. I smell a Stargate play coming on. We'll see. Choya actually sending a second probe over there. That's a little unusual. I think he may have wanted to see if he was making his command center on the low ground. If you make the command center on the low ground, you can do a lot of things to punish that as Protoss. And actually, I'm still a little confused as to what Choya's going to do. Now I'm not, because I see his probe going over here and hiding. I smell Stargate play, and we'll get a shot of it in a second. Over here at the 9 o'clock spawning location, there's a pylon going up, and I think I'd almost bet my life on it there's about to be a Stargate proxy there. When your opponent goes for a gasless build, you can use those Void Rays so well if you make enough Stalkers to support them, especially on a map like Metalopolis. Ask any Terran player, he'll tell you that you see that location right there where the SCVs are mining above, and there's that ledge there. If you put Stalkers on the low ground, there's the Stargate. Now, if you put your Stalkers on the low ground there and use Void Rays to support them, the Void Rays and the Stalkers both outrange the Marines, and if the Marines leave, then you can just shoot the SCVs instead, because you actually have range to do that with your Stalkers. And also the Void Ray, of course, can charge up on the command center, do all sorts of funky things. So we do see that Top is smartly making a bunker, but if Choya wants to, you know, he's going to go for this 3 Gateway Void Ray all-in. If he wants to, he can actually just target down some of those SCVs and controls it properly. And that's how this map works. I mean, basically that's how it goes. Now, luckily for Top, he does come in here, and he's going to see the 3 gates. Now, he doesn't know about the Stargate just yet. but he might smell this coming. Now, if he starts an engineering bay immediately here, he's definitely going to be in the know, because an engineering bay makes this almost impossible to work. You get a few well-placed missile turrets, and that just kind of shuts everything down. And as it stands, though, he is going to make a second bunker. That bunker a little bit closer to the mineral line, so it may help him defend this. I mean, it definitely will help him defend it, but how much that's left to be unsaid is all going to come down to the control and the micro of both of these players. Now, remember, Stim is on the way. It's about a fifth of the way done. When that finishes, it's going to make it much significantly easier to defend. But remember, if Stim finishes, basically the game will end. He has to make this attack work before Stim finishes, or it's just going to fail. With Stimmed Marines inside of bunkers especially, it's just not... It's not feasible to hold it. Now, he's going to target down the supply depot. It's a little bit too far away from that bunker for the bunker to protect it. Oh, he's got that charge. He doesn't want to lose it. Well, maybe Choya doesn't want to lose it. I didn't want him to lose it, but Choya was totally okay with losing it. He's going to have to micro that stalker back that's getting shot by the bunker. Wants to target down this depot. If he can charge up, look at that. See, that's what I'm talking about. You put the stalkers on the low ground, they can shoot up at the Marines. It's much worse if you can hit the SCVs, but in this case, of course, that's not going to work. Now, top is supply blocked. He's going to have to make 2 more depots to be able to make any more units. Does have that engineering bay up. Can make a missile turret if he wants to. I think it'd behoove him to do so. Choya has not started a Nexus. I mean, this is basically an all-in build. If it doesn't work, it's very hard to transition. Probe does run up. Bunkers shut that down. Maybe Choya was trying to find out if he salvaged those bunkers. Now he's bringing in some sentries. That's most likely going to be for Guardian Shield. He may try to actually bust up the top of the ramp and force field off the bunkers. That'll be very difficult to do. Now, I like this move, but not enough Pro-Osses to actually do this. Void Rays are so good, even individually. He's going to target down some of these SCVs, just control his Void Rays. Look how fast the SCVs die. Now, when the Marines come, he just backs away and micros his Void Rays. Doesn't lose any hit points, just losing shields. And look at that, they outrange Marines, so he's doing a ton of damage here. If you have good Void Ray control and you're confident doing stuff like this kind of build is almost unbeatable against Terrans who go for fast command centers. Now remember, Stim is done, so if he does a good Stim, he will clean up these Void Rays. But look at Choya's control, it's just so flawless. There's now a third Void Ray to join that. I don't say it's a fleet yet, but it's becoming a fleet of Void Rays. Wants to keep that Void Ray alive. He may be overextending himself a little bit. Choya is starting to get a little bit ahead in supply, but once these Vikings start coming out and Stim is done, this attack is going to kind of stop being efficient. I said once Stim was done, the attack would end, but now he's playing it smarter and trying to use those Warriors a little bit clever. But when the Vikings come out, you can't even do that anymore, and that's when things get really bad. Now it looks like he's going to try to attack here. The Command Center may come down, and he's got some force fields he may try to use, but he actually is just going to target down that bunker, and there aren't that many Marines left. The Zealot's running forward, and Top being a little bit indecisive. I think he's going to die here, ladies and gentlemen. So this well-executed Void Ray attack by Choya. It actually looks like he may want to try to take out those Vikings, target them down. He's losing a lot of Void Rays, but he's got so many Stalkers here, it may not matter. He's going to try to repair that Viking, I think, with the SCVs. Look at that one Marine and the Viking. The SCV is going to repair the Viking, and the Medevac to repair, or to heal the SCVs and the, and the Marine. But I think Choya may have succeeded here. Although I have to say, even though he's lost a lot of SCVs, those Marauders are out. Didn't lose the command center. He's still got a pretty good amount of production capabilities. Choya has warped in more units. He's made a more forward pylon so he can warp units in closer. This next attack may end the game. I don't think Top's out of this by any means just yet, but he's going to have to, like, not move that command center down there right now. That's what he's definitely, I mean, that is definitely what he does not want to do right now. He wants to make another bunker and just hold on a little longer, use that second command center to keep his SCV count up. Now he's going to charge up on this factory. If he gets 2 charged Void Rays, I hope that this time he won't let the charge fall. There he goes, keeping that charge. He's going to run forward here. The Zealots coming up the ramp. Once the Zealots get up there, things get pretty nasty. What are you doing, Choya? Just go up the ramp. There he goes.